All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're breaking down a topic that is highly requested and honestly pretty heavily debated: how to build a legitimate, actionable roadmap into cybersecurity for about $100. If you've been wondering how on earth to bypass that massive $5,000 bootcamp price tag without burying yourself in debt, well, you are in exactly the right place.
So can you actually become a hireable analyst with just free YouTube videos and $75? It's a bold question, right? For years, the myth has been that you absolutely need expensive degrees or high-priced certifications just to get your foot in the door. But the data and the experts are telling a completely different story. Today, we're taking that myth head-on. We've curated insights from top industry sources to show you that with the right sequence of free content and a wildly cheap home lab, you can literally build the provable skills that hiring managers are desperate for. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is the pyramid of mastery roadmap we're going to follow. First, avoiding the learning trap. Second, building your foundation. Third, creating a $75 home lab. Fourth, choosing your path. Fifth, the real analyst experience. And finally, your 30-day action plan. Section 1, the learning trap. To build this pyramid, we first have to clear out a bit of rubble. The absolute biggest hurdle for self-taught beginners is treating YouTube like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You sample a little bit of everything, but finish absolutely nothing. Here's a reality check. Cybersecurity content rots incredibly fast. A brilliant tutorial from 2019 on hacking an Active Directory network, which, by the way, is just the system most companies use to manage user accounts, that video might now show techniques that modern defenses neutralize immediately. Binge-watching random, outdated videos feels like progress, but it really isn't. The bottleneck you're facing isn't a lack of high-quality content, it's a lack of structure. You need a structured consumption of highly current channels, focusing only on videos published in the last 18 months, rather than just clicking whatever pops up in your recommended feed. Section 2, building your foundation. Now, once you commit to structure, a lot of beginners want to skip straight to firing off exploits in Kali Linux, which is that go-to operating system tailored for hackers. But any senior practitioner will tell you that networking fundamentals and system architecture are what truly separate a capable analyst from someone who's just, well, guessing. For your absolute baseline, NetworkChuck's project-based Linux and networking series, unmatched. From there, Professor Messer provides this incredibly dense, structured equivalent to a $500 bootcamp tailored perfectly for the CompTIA Security Plus cert. Later on for offense, you've got the Cyber Mentor, and for pure defense, 13 Cubed. Sticking to this specific path guarantees you're actually learning relevant baseline IT skills rather than just parlor tricks. But look, watching isn't doing. You have to practice those foundations. The ultimate arena for that, the Capture the Flag competition, or CTF. Platforms like Pico CTF are essentially gamified learning environments where you actively hunt for hidden data. Like senior threat analyst John Hammond points out, you might inspect an image file, spot a weird string of scrambled text, and instantly recognize it as base 64 encoded code containing your flag. It's like you literally start seeing the matrix. And that aha moment is exactly why CTFs matter so much. They aren't just games. John Hammond hit the nail on the head here, noting that these challenges instill the exact stubbornness, grit, and methodical problem-solving mindset you need in the real world. You learn to just bang your head against a wall, test every single hypothesis, and eventually break through. That resilience, that is your greatest asset as an analyst. Section 3, the $75 home lab. Which brings us to our next critical step. Moving from passive watching into active doing on your own infrastructure. You need a home lab. But actually, scratch the idea that you need a massive server rack heating up your closet. For just $75, and I'm talking maybe 5 minutes of physical assembly, you can build a powerful, self-contained laboratory. This completely removes any reliance on expensive cloud environments or spotty internet, letting you practice offensive security skills securely and legally on your very own network. Let's walk through Dr. Gerald Auger's blueprint for this. You start with a simple Raspberry Pi 4 with 2 gigs of RAM. You flash the Raspbian OS onto a micro SD card. Now, here is a massive pro tip from Gerald. When configuring your Wi-Fi, make sure to use a 2.4 gigahertz connection rather than 5 gigahertz. It completely avoids some severe performance bugs. Once it's booted, you simply SSH into the device, which basically just means you securely log into it remotely from your main computer, you install Docker, and you pull an ARM-compatible image of a vulnerable app like WebGoat. Just like that, your personalized hacking target is live and ready to go. Section 4. Choose your path. All right, with your lab humming along and your foundational knowledge solidifying, you arrive at a critical fork in the road. You can't master everything at once. The industry generally splits into two massive disciplines. Over on the left, we have the red team. That's offensive penetration testing, thinking like the attacker. This is where you'll spend time on HackTheBox and watching IppSec's methodical walkthroughs. On the right, the blue team. Defense, digital forensics, incident response. Here, you're digging into SANS Institute talks and 13 Cube's deep dives on Windows forensics. They are completely different mindsets. So what does this all mean for you? The crucial point is this. If your goal is to actually get hired in the next 6 to 12 months, you need to start with the blue team. Defensive roles, like a Tier 1 SOC analyst, have far lower barriers to entry and significantly more open positions than offensive red team roles. Breaking in via the red team often stalls out simply because employers expect a much deeper technical maturity that a self-taught beginner typically has. Start on defense, get in the door, and then pivot if you want to.
Section 5. The real analyst experience.
Before you go applying for those defensive roles, we really need to shatter the Hollywood hacker myth. Forget the image of furiously typing in a dark room while a progress bar races against a countdown timer. No way. The structured reality of a security analyst involves a ton of communication and procedure. Your day-to-day heavily involves maintaining SIEM, that's security information and event management tools, reviewing employee-reported phishing emails to see if they're real threats, running compliance checks, and writing highly detailed incident reports. You're a digital investigator and a policy enforcer. That requires excellent writing and collaboration skills just as much as technical chops.
In fact, to put that into perspective, modern enterprise security is actively shifting away from just managing machines and moving toward managing humans. Based on recent insights from InfoSec Institute, organizations are focusing heavily on human risk management. As an analyst, you aren't just protecting servers anymore. You're using security tools to provide real-time behavioral coaching for an employee who, say, just clicked a sketchy like. You are managing human behavior. Section 6, your 30-day action plan.
Okay, we've covered the traps, the foundation, the hardware, and the reality of the job itself. Let's synthesize this into your blueprint. Months 1 and 2, purely foundational, networking and security plus prep. Months 3 and 4 are all about getting your hands dirty with CTFs and your shiny new Raspberry Pi lab. Months 5 and 6 are for your blue or red team specialization. To kick this off today, pick just 3 channels from this list, block out 30 minutes twice a week, and build absolute consistency. Don't deviate.
And one last absolutely crucial tip. You cannot rely on your memory for this stuff. Treat your notes like a searchable cheat sheet. Follow John Hammond's advice here and use a markdown-based tool like Obsidian to document your commands, your solutions, and your project write-ups. You are essentially building a localized, searchable database of your own brain. So when an employer asks what you've been doing, you don't just tell them. You show them this incredible, organized library of knowledge. So, we've given you the map, the tools, and the timeline. You don't need a $5,000 boot camp, you just need momentum. The big question is, what single action will you take today? Are you going to close out all those random tabs, order that $75 Raspberry Pi, and finally see what it feels like to break into a vulnerable server right on your own desk? The blueprint is in your hands, but the first move